welcome to the Feeling is the Secret Neville Goddard Study Class. So we're going to go through this book. This book is probably one of Neville's shortest books. It's 42.5 pages long. And as you can see, I mean, I remember reading it in about 45 minutes. It's such a quick little book. And it's quite a good one to start on if you're not really Neville, savvy, let's say. So if you don't know how to use the little cartoon hand to put your hand up, just type in the chat, how do I put my hand up, for those of you that are new, that don't know how to use Zoom fully. And then I will be calling on people, as we go through these 2 hours. Also, if you need to go to the bathroom, just get up and go. Don't worry about, whatever else is going on. Just do what you need to do. Okay, now, this book is concerned with the art of realizing your desire. It gives you an account of the mechanism used in the production of the visible world. It is a small book, but not slight. There is a treasure in it, a clear, defined road to the realization of your dreams. So I just want to make sure everyone's muted. Yep, all good. So where it's possible to carry conviction to another by means of reasoned arguments and detailed instances, this book would be many times its size. It is seldom possible, however, to do so by means of written statements or arguments, since to the suspended judgment, it always seems plausible to say that the author was dishonest or deluded, and therefore his evidence, let me just make sure that's on silent. Okay, let me just recap here. Or argument, since to the suspended judgment, it always seems plausible to say that the author was dishonest or deluded, and therefore his evidence was tainted. Consequently, I have purposefully omitted all arguments and testimonials and simply challenge the open-minded reader to practice the law of consciousness as revealed in this book. Personal success will prove far more convincing than all the books that could be written on the subject. So that's the little foreword by Neville. So he's kept this nice and tight, nice and short, and it's looking at what he's saying here. The mechanism used in the production of the visible world. So the mechanism, as Neville talks about, is using imagination creates reality to then produce results that you can see in your own life and in the 3D. So, nice little forward. Chapter 1, law and its operation. So the world and all within it is man's conditioned consciousness, objectified. Okay, in man's conditioned consciousness, objectified. So what you're conscious of, and then what you put your focus on, what objects, that's the connection between your thoughts and the objects manifested. Consciousness is the cause. Okay, so we talk a lot about consciousness, and I remember thinking years ago, what the heck does that really mean? Consciousness is being conscious of something, being in a thought about a particular thing. Okay, it is the cause as well as the substance of the entire world. So yes, nothing can be created, nothing would exist unless someone had thought about it first. So we are all in our own lives seeing the examples of that, from where we live to what's in our wallet, to what kind of job we live, what kind of job we go to, and what relationships we live in, how they are good, bad, or indifferent. So it is to consciousness that we must turn if we would discover the secret of creation. So he's rewinding it right back to where it all starts. Knowledge of the law of consciousness. So this is a law as well, the law of consciousness, and the method of operating this law will enable you to accomplish all you desire in life. Armed with a working knowledge of this law, you can build and maintain an ideal world. So many of us, prior to coming to law of attraction, Neville, etc., we have been creating by default by not doing it consciously. We've been doing it by reacting to what's in front of us, but really you're reacting to what's in front of you, but it really is what you were thinking that created what was in front of you. So once you understand that thought and consciousness precedes the things you are living, then instead of having a whole bunch of miscreations that are painful and not to your liking, you can create deliberately. And you can get better at this skill and harness, one, your focus, two, what you would like to focus on with feeling. And then you will get different results on the outside. Now, armed with a working knowledge of this law, you can build and maintain an ideal world. Consciousness is the one and only reality, not figuratively, but actually. This reality may, for the sake of clarity, be likened unto a stream, which is divided into two parts, the conscious and the subconscious. In order to intelligently operate the law of consciousness, it is necessary to understand the relationship between the conscious and the subconscious. So, the conscious is personal and selective. The subconscious is impersonal and non-selective. Okay, so that's a really interesting difference. As you move around through your world, everything is personal. It's what you are living and what you are seeing and what you are most aware of. The subconscious is stuff you're less aware of and things that you might not necessarily want or desire lurks around in the subconscious. Not saying the conscious doesn't either, because we know we can be conscious of our fears, conscious of our jealousies, conscious of our anxieties. We can be conscious of all those things. So it is easier in a way to change the conscious level because you're awake and you can focus and you can be disciplined. The subconscious is more impersonal and non-selective. That takes a little bit more work to work out what's in there and where it came from. Okay, but you get both of these working in harmony, then you have a much better ability to create a life that you love, relationships that you love, a job that you love, a bank account that you love, and on it goes. So it's getting these two things working in your favor that then becomes the journey to a satisfactory external experience in your own life. Okay. Now, these two aspects are the male and female divisions of consciousness. The conscious is the male and the subconscious is the female. The conscious generates ideas and impresses these ideas on the subconscious. The subconscious receives and gives form and expression to them. So the male is the giver and the female is the receiver, which fits in with nature on a physical level, as in physical intimacy level. By this law, First conceiving an idea and then impressing the idea conceived on the subconscious. All things evolve out of consciousness, and without this sequence, there is not anything made that is made. So we first need to have a desire, and then we need to think about it. And when you have a desire, that's not hard. That just happens naturally. You have a desire for something, and it becomes something that you think about regularly. And if you haven't got it, sometimes it causes a lot of suffering and anguish not to have it in the here and now. So if you can remember by this law, the law of consciousness, you first have to conceive an idea, as in have a desire and think about it, and then impress that idea on the subconscious through lots of different ways. And I'm sure we're going to talk about more of these as we go. All things evolve out of the consciousness. So all things come out of, everything that you live comes out of what you're thinking. And then you see the hatching of it, the manifestation of it. Okay? Even the absence of things, I'm going to add to that. So for a lot of people, there's an absence of money or an absence of a relationship that they want. That is being conscious of what you don't want for extended periods of time and then seeing the evidence of it. That's all. So once you understand the mechanics of that, you go, okay, hang on. I've been thinking this, and I've been thinking about it a lot with the feeling of fear and worry, or am I good enough, or is this ever going to happen? And then what happens is you then see the exact match on the outside, which is you don't see a manifestation. You don't see your desire hatching. You don't see something coming towards you because you've been on the miscreation side, which is I've been putting most of my thought and emotion and feeling on the not having. Once you understand that formula, then you understand why you need to live in the end, which is very much a Neville thing. You must be solution focused, and you must stop watering the plant of the problem, and you must start training yourself to water the plant of the solution. Okay. And that's the skill with, I would say, pretty much all of Neville's stuff that he talks about. Imagination creates reality, living in the end. His focus is on solution focused techniques and getting good at holding yourself there for extended periods of time. Now, the conscious impresses the subconscious, while the subconscious expresses all that is expressed. Impressed, not expressed, impressed upon it. So I'm going to read that again. The conscious impresses the subconscious, and the subconscious then expresses all that is impressed upon it. So it's like two halves of a coin. They both need each other. They work together like silent twins. The subconscious does not originate ideas. This is really interesting. The subconscious doesn't originate ideas, but accepts as true those which the conscious mind feels to be true in a way known only to itself, and objectifies the accepted ideas. So it's like the subconscious is the one that executes, but it needs to get its orders before it can do so. Okay? Therefore, through his power to imagine and feel and his freedom to choose the idea he will entertain, man has control over his creation. That's lovely. I'm going to read that again. So, therefore, through his power to imagine, so your ability to choose what you want to put in your head moment by moment on any given day, and feel. So you're imagining, then you're feeling. When you think about what you're imagining, you feel certain things. So if you're imagining things that are wanted, the feeling naturally goes to that. Oh, I love that. and his freedom to choose the idea that he's going to entertain, man has control over creation. So the whole thing with Neville's teachings is, how good are you at your conscious selection? What are you choosing to put in your head today that then goes down into the body to generate a feeling? Because thoughts are the language of the mind and feelings are the language of the body. So it's getting those things to work together. Control of the subconscious is accomplished through control of your ideas and feelings. And the way you get better at controlling your feelings and having better feelings is to learn to discipline your mind. The mechanism of creation is hidden in the very depth of the subconscious, the female aspect, or the womb of creation. The subconscious transcends reason and is independent of induction. So really, the subconscious just takes orders, and then it's almost like a robot. You give it instruction, and then it just goes ahead and executes them. So the thing is, you can't see, okay, I've had 10 fear thoughts today about relationships, and then I've had 2 thoughts today about relationships that are positive. The 10 were negative, the 2 were positive. We can't see that because we don't measure it and keep it on a counter. But you've got to look at, okay, how can I track this in an easier way? You don't go, how many thoughts have I had, and try and track, because that'll drive you nuts after about 2 hours. But what you do is you look at, if you want to make it easier for yourself, how do I feel as I move through my day? The better you feel, you know your thoughts have been better than, say, the day before where you weren't feeling so good. So you can track and trace where you're at in how good you're doing with your thinking by seeing what your vibe is and your emotion is and your feeling is on any given day. So the better the feeling, you know your thoughts have been good. The more negative your thoughts, then obviously your feeling is going to match that. Okay. Now, the mechanism of creation is hidden in the very depth of the subconscious, the female aspect or womb of creation, which we've already said. Now, the subconscious transcends reason and is independent of induction. So, as we said, it just takes its orders from the conscious mind, and it contemplates a feeling as a fact existing within itself, and on this assumption proceeds to give expression to it. So as soon as you contemplate something in your mind and you go one way or the other, negative or positive, what happens then is it sends a signal to the body to have an emotion. Then what happens from that, it then says the feeling's a fact and it exists within me. And then that assumption, then I would say, in my own words, the law of projection takes over, sends it out, and then you start to see the thing take shape in whatever way you sent it out. So if it was a negative thing that you marinated on for too long, then you see the negative hatching of a desire, a miscreation. Or if you were pretty good at doing the positive, then you will see a hatching of something wanted. And this is really exciting when you know that if you can do it in the negative direction, as so many of us are good at, you can therefore become really good at it in the positive. Justice, I'm going to take a break to take your question.
Awesome. So I know in the past I have used your videos to like create that feeling of relief.
Yeah.
And I would be projecting it out, and I could do that in those positions that I was holding with my job. But right now I'm in a job that kind of takes my focus away. And so I'm having a hard time focusing with feeling of like relief. on like my affirmations. So it feels like I am taking like 2 steps forward, like on my way to work, like trying to use my time wisely. But then I get to work and it's like, ah. And so I'm having a hard time catching like my feeling of relief with my affirmations while I'm there. And I'm there from like 8 to 10 hours.
Yes.
So I was wondering if you had any ideas, because like I said, I would literally like project it out and like go through like mentally with what you were saying in your videos in the moment. But now it's a little bit different because I can't just like stop, use my imagination, create the feeling of relief, and then go on with my tasks.
Yeah. And I think when you're at a job for 8 hours and you're walking in knowing you're going to be there for 8 hours, do you have an intense feeling of suffocation and not wanting to be there? Is that the feeling that comes up?
Overall, right now, it's like I'm doing 4 people's jobs. So yeah, there's a definite feeling of like anxiety and like overwhelmment.
Yeah. I remember that in the last job that I had working for someone else. And I remember I was working in these big shopping centers that you'd go, there was like so many levels, and the last 2 levels were underground. You never saw if it was summer or winter or morning or night. There was no connection with the outside. So, and I remember, Justice, the only thing I could do, because I felt intense suffocation and feeling trapped, like it was the main feeling I had all day. So what I did was, during the day, I'd say, oh my God, I've only got 4 hours left. I'm going to feel so free in 4 hours when I walk out that door. And I would just try and project myself and just call up the feeling of relief from knowing I was going to walk out that door in 5 hours, 4 hours, then it would go down 3, 2, 1. So I'd just say to myself, you are going to feel great when you walk out of here today. And it was like, oh yeah, I'm going to feel great. And then you'd walk to your bus or car or whatever, and you'd say, now I'm free all the way from 6 p.m. at night. I'm going to be free all the way till the next morning. I've got this whole block of time that I don't have to be there. So I tried to amplify, I am free, I am free, I am free, while I was, you know, when you lock up from work or you shut the door and you are finished for the day, there is an exhilaration in that moment when you do not want to be at a certain place. So don't worry too much about trying to do it while you're there, because I think, especially if you're doing 4 people's job, that's nearly impossible to be trying to focus on that and do affirmations or whatever. But say to yourself, I am free as you walk out, and try and do it all the way home. So you'll be doing it for a certain amount of time. Now, I remember too, Justice, I used to walk to work knowing I was going to be stuck in a room for 8 hours with people I didn't want to be with. I would, on the whole walk to work, which I would park my car far away from the shopping center, and I would walk about 20 minutes to get there. And I remember saying goodbye to everything I saw along the way. I'd say goodbye to this guy's rose garden as I walked past it. Oh, I'm really going to miss that little takeaway place that I get my kebab from or whatever. And I'd start to pretend that I had already got something else. And this is like the last week I was going to see any of these things. So it's like I played a little game with myself, even when there was nothing in sight. And that, I can't remember how many months it was. I mean, it feels like forever when you're there. But then when you're out of there, you go, wow, that didn't take as long as I thought, because you're free again. But just try and do little pockets of it. Now, also, we all have to go to the bathroom. So when you go to the bathroom from work, as in during the day, because you might go, say, twice, maybe 3 times in a day, every time you go to the bathroom, practice, I am free, I am free, I am free. And then practice it on the way back in. Then when you're at work, focus on work, do what you have to do. But just those moments you can grab, 5-10 minutes on your way to the bathroom or 20 minutes on your way in, grab those, because they all add up. And you can get really intense, good emotion. Because if I used to say to myself, oh my God, if I never have to come here again, how good is it going to feel? And that would just instantly ignite the feeling of freedom. So Try and do it that way, little bite sizes here and there.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that.
That's okay. No problem. Andrea, did you just put your hand up? I thought I just saw it there and then it just disappeared. If you did, I've got 2 of you on here. I'll unmute both of you. Andrea, you must have signed in on 2.
Just by mistake.
What's that?
Was just by mistake. I'm trying to log in.
Oh, okay. It's just by mistake. No problem. No problem. Okay, so we will keep going. Now, the mechanism of creation is hidden in the very depth of the subconscious. So that's where it hatches from. It hatches from the subconscious, and the seeds get planted in the subconscious from the conscious mind. So the female aspect or womb of creation. Now, the subconscious transcends reason and is independent of induction. So it doesn't care what you say to it. It doesn't care whether it's good or bad, amazing, or, you know, really low grade, low rung. As in not good at all for you, your family, humanity, or anything. It takes its orders irregardless. So it really doesn't matter what you plant, you will get a harvest, you know, as Neville talks about in Seed Time and the Harvest. So it contemplates a feeling as a fact existing within itself, and on this assumption proceeds to give expression to it. So it's being more mindful of what you think consciously, because you know that that's the seeds of planting in the subconscious. Now, I don't want you to freak out and go, oh my God, I just had like a whole bunch of bad thoughts in the last, 3 hours about my boss because he was really mean to me, or my relationship, was horrible in the last week because we've been fighting about something. So that means all I've planted in there is really bad stuff. We're not perfect. It's progress, not perfection. So you do your best and don't let your mind wander around on its own too much. But if you have a bad day, you know what? There's nothing wrong. People often say, oh, I've been crying all day. I feel like that's going to handbrake my manifestation. No, because you've released emotion. And after you cry, whew, you feel better. So you got to offload emotion because we're emotional beings. So if you offload it as quickly as you can and you don't hold on to it for a week, whether if you're angry, go to the gym, go for a run, go play basketball, blow it off, the anger, do it quickly as possible. So, and if you feel like crying, make some time, because something's happened and you feel really hurt, make some time to let that out too. Because the sooner you can let your emotions pass through, then the less handbraking you're doing on the desire that you want to create. Okay. Now, the creative process begins with an idea, and its cycle runs its course as a feeling and ends up in a volition to act. So, yes, very simply, he's just summed it up there. The whole process, the creative process, you have a thought about what you want, and then you evoke a feeling when you think about what you want. And then it goes, oh, that's an instruction. I'm going to go out and stick to what it is that this person, me, in this particular case, because we're all looking at our own desires, it has gone out to then bring back the harvest. So it's really the mechanics of this is really simple. Have a thought, the thought then generates a feeling, the feeling then sends a message to the subconscious then goes, okay, the feeling was anger, the feeling was love, the feeling was anxiety, the feeling was hurt. Now I'm going to, from that feeling, go forward and execute what this person's asked me to do. So in a way, even though we manifest negative things, the whole system is quite simple and sophisticated at the same time, because it's always working on our behalf. I mean, that's pretty amazing intelligence once you know how to use it and you understand that you don't need to react to things, but you can be a creator rather than a reactor to everything. So it's seeing it just clearly. Thought about desire, feeling then comes up, feeling then goes into the subconscious. Subconscious then gets the law of projection to send it out, and then the law of projection and the law of attraction, if you want to use non-Neville words, brings it back in as something. Absence of person, absence of great job, absence of money, or lots of money, amazing relationship, most amazing job you've ever had, depending on where your thoughts are. And this is what's interesting. Whoever you have in your life, especially even people at work that you don't know that well, all you need to do is look at what they're living to see where their thoughts have been. You don't even need to ask. You know, they might make some random comment about, oh, my car broke down again. It's like, okay, well, they've got a fear of scarcity about cars. They've got negative thoughts about cars breaking down. They, you know, you can see a lot about people on the inside by what they tell you on the outside. And it's fascinating the more you observe what people are living, even people that you don't know. I mean, you could watch a documentary about somebody and you could see, you know, their thoughts, even if they haven't told you, just by what they are doing the documentary on about this person's life as to what they've created. So it's fascinating stuff. And if you can make yourself the guinea pig, as in, okay, let me look at how I'm doing in the 4 topics: love, health, wealth, work, the square. How am I doing on these 4 subjects? And then you go, well, this one's actually not doing very well. So this is where I need to be more conscious of what I think about a desire, the feeling I have about it, the seeds that get planted, the subconscious takes over, then the law of projection goes out, and then the law of attraction comes back and photocopies it and shows me evidence. So you can really get tight and clear about what you're doing. Okay? Now, ideas are impressed on the subconscious through the medium of feeling. No idea can be impressed on the subconscious until it is felt. But once felt, be it good, bad, or indifferent, it must be expressed. Feeling is the one and only medium through which ideas are conveyed to the subconscious. So the subconscious isn't just lurking around in the background like a fuzzy target that you don't know what's in there. You can go, hang on a minute. If I look at what's been said here, everything that is impressed on the subconscious is impressed through my feelings. Therefore, what feeling am I having, good, bad, or indifferent? Because it's going to express itself at some point. So I better get good at learning to, he uses the word, he uses here the man who does not control his feeling. I would say also it's that choice to really, one, be aware of what you're thinking, because it's so easy to zone out during the day and not be aware of what you're thinking. And I think one of the places you see it the most is when you're standing at the ATM machine and you're getting money out. That's when you see where you zone out, but you've got an intense feeling. Now, if you've got a lot of money in there, it'd be like, woohoo, every time I go to the ATM machine, I've got, you know, all this money coming out to put in my wallet to go and spend on things I want. But there's a lot of people that have got the opposite feeling. Oh my God, I've taken money out and this doesn't feel good. Yeah. Kathleen, yeah. It's true, isn't it? You know, especially when you've grown up poor. You could even have money in the bank, but it throws you back into your childhood stuff of as soon as money goes out, there's nothing coming in to replenish it. So standing at the ATM machine, I remember it took me about a year to not zone out every time I went to the ATM machine, because I would instantly get like a deer with its, with the lights in its eyes. And I would zone out because I didn't want to feel what I was feeling, which is, oh no, my money's going down. My money's going down. Oh my God, I don't want my money to go down. This doesn't feel good. I don't want to take anything out. I don't want to buy. I don't want to pay for the, and I'd go into this gridlock of anxiousness and low grade panic. So I remember saying to myself, every time I went to the ATM, I'd be walking there, I go, okay, don't zone out when you take your money out this time. And that took me nearly a year to break that habit. I'd walk away and I'd go, you did it again. You just went into panic and fear, and you did not focus on, there's more money, where this came from. This is an abundant universe. I wouldn't have thoughts like that at the ATM. I had a PhD in freaking out at the ATM. So it takes practice. Even when you've said to yourself, you're not going to do that anymore, it really can be, it's like you go into this automatic pilot. So you don't worry, because eventually you'll get better at it. Yeah, Patricia, like you're saying, I feel sad when I see my bank balance. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Because every time you go to the bank, we don't really go to banks so much anymore. Now it's on your screen, on your app, on your this, on your that. It's kind of a little bit more removed, but still you can have a massive negative emotion looking at your accounts online or on your phone app. It makes no difference whether you're standing at the ATM or you're standing with your phone. The feeling of being punched in the guts is the same. So ask yourself, on any of the desires I have, where do I zone out? Do I zone out? And let me try and make it more conscious, whether it's the ATM, whether it's when you go and talk to your boss, whether it's, when you're going to have a conversation with that romantic relationship. Where is it that you kind of, you lock up with, like the deer with the lights in its eyes? Where do you lock up? And once you get good at being aware of that, then you can start to shift yourself into the positive emotions about that subject. Okay. Feeling is the one and only medium through which ideas are conveyed to the subconscious. Therefore, the man who does not control his feeling may easily impress the subconscious with undesirable states. By control of feeling is not meant restraint or suppression of your feeling, but rather the disciplining of the self to imagine and entertain only such feeling as contributes to your happiness. So that all sounds really simple. Control your feeling, but you're not restraining it, you're not suppressing it, but rather you're disciplining yourself to only have good feelings. I think that if you have trouble going from a negative thought about one particular subject that you're trying to manifest a desire in, perhaps don't try and jump too quick, too fast. If you have felt poor or you felt unloved and unwanted, it's very hard to just jump straight into the opposite polarity. It is. But you can do something as a stepping stone in the middle. I think the Ho'oponopono is a great one. Why? Because it's general and it pulls you away from the negative because it gives your mind something else to do. And it's a nice, I think, in-between thing, like the meat in the sandwich. So if you're struggling to go from I am unloved and unwanted to I am loved, say to yourself, while I'm having an unloved moment and an unwanted moment, let me hop to doing Ho'oponopono for 20 minutes and see if I can talk myself off the ledge. If I'm feeling really poor and I've now got this massive car repair that I wasn't anticipating, and now it's really dropped my bank account or I have to go into debt over it, before I start going into the massive fear and panic of not enough money, let me put Ho'oponopono in the middle and practice that. And then once I've shifted out of it a little bit, then I can do money. It comes to me easily and effortlessly. Isn't it crazy how much money I attract? And you can use that whole Ho'oponopono as a middle stepping stone. That's helped me tremendously over the years when I just felt I couldn't hop into the absolute positive statement, which was the opposite of the lack statement I had become extremely good at. Now, control of your feeling is all important to a full and happy life. Never entertain an undesirable feeling, nor think sympathetically about wrong in any shape or form. Now, never entertain an undesirable feeling. You know, if we could actually attain to that level, I can tell you after 30 years, I still haven't been able to reach that level of amazingness that Neville's talking about. But you can keep trying and get better at it. Am I better than I was 30 years ago? Yes, absolutely. But I would never say I never entertain an undesirable feeling, because I'm not at that level, and it does take immense mental and emotional discipline. But again, progress, not perfection. Do not dwell on the imperfection of yourself or others. To do so is to impress the subconscious with these limitations. What you do not want done unto you, do not feel that it is done unto you or another. This is the whole law of a full and happy life. Everything else is commentary. Oh, yeah. So, and the reason you don't want to be doing firstly, the negative thinking about yourself, the self-judgment and self-criticism is often what brings in other people judging and criticizing us. And then if you go into doing it to others, then that boomerang swings around and it brings in some unpleasant circumstance, because it's all energetic magnets. So if you have someone in your life that's done something to you and you feel extremely wounded, and whether it happened last week, last month, or 10 years ago, remind yourself about everyone's you pushed out, not to blame yourself, but to say to yourself, now I know better, I can do better. And I'm not going to be spending time doing that because it injures me and I don't want to injure myself. And, that person did whatever they did. Whether they were doing their best or not, I don't know, because I'm not them. But I'm going to know the impact of me dwelling on certain things is not good for my mental, emotional health, nor is it good for manifesting my desires. It is a handbrake that just gets pulled up and it keeps me gridlocked into not getting what I want. So ask yourself, is it worth it? I'm not against people setting boundaries if things, get really not good with somebody. It's not about allowing people to abuse you in any way, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial. Don't let people abuse you, take advantage of you. But also then you go, okay, the other side is, what do I have in me that brought that to me at that time? Can I identify that and let me dissolve that and let that go so that I do not pull it in again? Now, Shireen, you've got your hand up. Go ahead. I just got to ask to unmute you. There you go. Yep.
So I heard all of that and registered it.
Yes.
My core thing is I had a psychic dream about my dad. I'll be very quick. Basically, whenever I try to be honest with him and sort of explain to him some of his off-kilter behavior, he just goes into denial. And I had a very intense dream where he smirked at me and he just brushed me off and deflected. And so I've been good with, if people enter my life and I'm getting the red flags because I'm listening to your self-love, to just move away a little bit, because the more you engage, then it can spiral. And then I go into having negative thoughts about them or me. But with the dad, the Ho'oponopono, I'm assuming, is kind of my only option then. If being and he's sick, so that's why it kind of pulled in, when he wants my control and wants to know what's happening. So I keep my distance physically, like I'm on the other side of Canada.
Yeah.
But he can get aggressive sort of psychically, which is interesting. But he's a parent, so I assume we're connected. We've been connected for many lifetimes. So yeah, I just want to know that there's no confrontation to have with somebody, especially if they're the type of person to deny. But I don't want to continue that narrative either. That's my only option, Ho'oponopono, then.
Well, I think Ho'oponopono is probably the easiest way because it's general and it's not about trying to get him to be different.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah. I think it's a great stepping stone to practice. And I remember when my dad had Alzheimer's, you know, my mum and I obviously wanted him to get well. And at that point, when he was diagnosed, there was still a possibility of arresting it. Now, I had a lot of anger towards him because he kept doing everything to not help himself, even at that stage when he was still with it enough.
Right.
And I remember thinking, I keep projecting onto my father, he's a stubborn old bastard. And I'll be honest, Shireen, I didn't do very well because my dad was sick for 7 years and then we had to look after him. And then I was resentful that he burdened us with his illness when at that point he could have helped himself, which would have helped us. And so I had anger for 7 years at him, even though I was reading Neville, even though I was doing Ho'oponopono. And it took me many years to let go of my anger towards my father. But when I look back now, I can see it's like we have what we think about ourselves and then what we think about other people, two halves of a nut. So I kept projecting onto my father, he's a stubborn old bastard, he's never going to change, he's a stubborn old bastard, he's never going to change. I can't stand that quality, I can't stand that quality. You know, I really hate that about him. You know, like that's where I was at. And, you know, I had to just let go of the control because I was trying to control him to be different on the outside, but I wasn't doing anything on the inside to change what I was projecting out onto him. My law of assumption, my assumptions of my father were gridlocked and set in concrete. And when I look back, I mean, it's kind of funny now. I mean, he's been dead over 12 years, I think now. So I can laugh, but I can tell you it wasn't funny for a very long time. So if you want to, it depends on your level of emotion. If it's easier for you to just do self-love and try not to think too much about his negative qualities, go that way if you can. If it comes up and it just rears its head, Ho'oponopono. And then if you want to take it one step further, what I would do would be to go, okay, let me write down my kind of top 3 negative thoughts and assumptions I have about my father, and am I willing to change them? And, you know, it's just between you and you because no one knows what you think in your head, you know, unless you've voiced it to a friend or something about your dad. But ask yourself, is that something I'm willing to do? And if you go, you know what, I've already done enough on him. I'm fed up with it. I just want to work on my self-love. There's no right or wrong. Right. Self-love sometimes is easier than trying to correct thoughts about another human being. So, you know, I was stubborn like my father. I didn't want to spend any time trying to correct and change and do more stuff in relation to him when he was already sucking up a lot of our time over 7 years because we had to care for him. So I made a decision, no, I'm going to just do my self-love. So, but you can do those 3 things and choose which ones you resonate and which ones feel better for you.
Right. I might do a combo at different times.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and test it out and see which ones work, which ones give you relief, which ones feel better. I mean, you might have resistance like I did and go, no, I'm sick of, you know, already outputting enough and I've already done enough on this person. I just don't want to do this. So you know, and that's all right too. Sometimes we don't want to revise other people. Sometimes we don't. We just go, you know what? No, enough. I've given that so much stuff, so much energy. It's worn me out. I'm going to pull that energy back and use it fully on me. And there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah. And I do know how to draw his love for me, but then I get sideswept. Again, that could be a narrative that I'm telling myself. But yeah, that's partly why I'm kind of icked out by trying to shift the energy, because now when he's loving, I hate him almost more. I know that sounds awful, but that's part of the shtick with me now, because that has been the pattern in all my relationships. So yeah. All right. Thank you so much for that.
No problem. Food for thought, you know, food for thought. And like you said, different times you might try different things and see which one sits nicely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Now, I've lost my spot, but I'll just jump in roughly where I think it is. Now, control of your feeling is all important to a full and happy life. Never entertain an undesirable feeling, nor think sympathetically about the wrong in any shape or form. Do not dwell on the imperfection of yourself or others. To do so is to impress the subconscious with these limitations. What you do not want done unto you, do not feel that it is done unto you or another. This is the whole law of a full and happy life. Everything else is commentary. Every feeling makes a subconscious impression unless it is counteracted by a more powerful feeling of an opposite nature. The dominant of two feelings is the one expressed. So the one you think about the most with the most intense emotion is the one that hatches. I am healthy is a stronger feeling than I will be healthy. To feel I will be is to confess that I'm not, and I am is stronger than I am not. So that's not news to most of you, I'm sure. I am statements, here and now, present tense, is where the power is. What you feel you are always dominates what you feel you'd like to be. Therefore, to be realized, the wish must be felt as a state that is rather than a state that is not. So, I am love is a strong state of being for those that want to experience love in the 3D, in a romantic relationship, with family, with friends. I am love is a great way to get there. But if you are feeling I'm unloved and I don't matter, I'm unloved and I don't matter, and you're thinking about that more, then you're going to see the evidence of no one being around. So once you know that difference, then you can practice deliberately, coming back to consciously. Then you do it more and more. And then it becomes habit. And then your habit shows you external results. Sensation precedes manifestation. And it is the foundation upon which all manifestation rests. Be careful of your moods and feelings, for there is an unbroken connection between your feelings and your visible world. Your body is an emotional filter and bears the unmistakable marks of your prevalent emotions. So your body is where you're going to see how you feel. Your body, and really when you think about it, it's from the neck to the abdomen. You know, that's where the feeling is. It's in the trunk. It's in the core. That's where you get your feelings. So be careful of your moods, because the connection, it's like this invisible cord between your body and your visible world. It's an invisible cord. And it's like what you receive comes down the pipeline, comes down the invisible cord. Your visible world, what you're getting, what you're seeing, what you're experiencing, relationships, health, money, job, all that you're living right now is connected by you to those things through the invisible cord of what you're feeling and thinking about those subjects, one at a time. Okay. Emotional disturbances, especially suppressed emotions, are the causes of all disease. So spend time letting out the suppressed stuff if you can. Don't shove it down. And this is unfortunately why so many people have addictions. They shove the stuff down. And then that suppressed stuff then creates illnesses and sometimes terminal, where people never come back because they've never identified that what they've shoved down mentally and emotionally has poisoned their own systems. To feel intensely about a wrong without voicing or expressing that feeling is the beginning of disease in both the body and the environment. Do not entertain the feeling of regret or failure, for frustration or detachment from your objective results in disease. So process those emotions. What do I mean by that? Allow yourself time to let them out and allow yourself time for them to come up and to be cried out, to be, you know, if it's anger, to scream it out, punch it out, yell it out, go to the gym, treadmill, whatever it is you do, go out in nature and run until you're exhausted. If you've got a lot of anger, that's a good way to do it too. Get that stuff out of your body. Think feelingly not only of the state you desire to realize, feeling the reality of the state sought, and living and acting on that conviction is the way of all seeming miracles. So the word conviction, that's a confidence. You act with conviction, you act with confidence. So if you want a wonderful relationship, whether it's really at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether it's an ex, a specific person, or a brand new relationship, because you're the common denominator. So to attract love, whether it's from a person you know or a brand new person, you have to be in a state of love. If you want more money, you can't be feeling trapped and fearful about money and expect money to come. So you have to shift that fear into, if I knew I was on the brink of this amazing $1 million, how would I feel right now? Well, you'd be relaxed and you'd be happy and you wouldn't care about standing at the ATM and taking out $100 or 100 pounds or 100 rupees or whatever. You wouldn't care because there's a hell of a lot more where that came from. So your whole experience would be different. So if you say to yourself, I've got that little piece of paper in my wallet and I wrote it in about 1997. I've still got the same piece of paper and I haven't written over it. It's extremely faded. And it says, if you knew you were on the brink of manifesting what you wanted right now, how would you feel? And I would think about having love, having an amazing job, having money in my wallet, having amazing health. And my whole body would just relax. I used to open my wallet and read that to myself half a dozen times a day when every area in my life was a total mess. And that little piece of paper has probably gone through about 4 wallets since the 90s. And it is still a statement that I found very powerful to release myself from fear. Now, next bit. Going on from his conviction, all changes of expression are brought about through a change of feeling. A change of feeling is a change of destiny. All creation occurs in the domain of the subconscious. What you must acquire then is a reflective control over the operation of the subconscious, that is, control of your ideas and feelings. So to plant seeds that the subconscious goes forward and then hatches for you on whatever topic you want to currently manifest, you have to become someone who is able to consciously, I wouldn't use the word control because that's probably, it sounds consciously direct, consciously choose, consciously select certain thoughts that are likable in terms of they go towards your desired outcome. So you're learning to discipline the mind, you're learning to direct the mind, you're learning pinpointed focus. Now, in this day and age, I think concentration and focus is at an all-time low, let me say. And I'm saying that because I would say probably 60% of people don't even read my emails thoroughly or properly. And that just shows me where concentration and focus is. Because people will send you a reply, and the reply is basically asking you stuff that you just wrote in the email you sent to them. So if you can be aware of your focus and your concentration, and I mean, we talk a lot about this in 2022 as mindfulness. That's the word of this decade. Mindfulness, you know, you eat your food, you're conscious of eating your food, you do your meditation, you don't listen to meditations while you're driving. You know, it's this multitasking business that I think has really destroyed people's focus and concentration. And this is the thing that needs improving to be able to do what Neville is talking about. And if you're going to get better results, you have to stop scattering your energies. Focus. Do one thing at a time and do it well. And become someone who knows how to focus, who knows how to read, whether you're reading a book, reading an email, listening to a YouTube, whatever it is, listen fully. Because that is why I think so many people don't manifest their desires, is because of that one thing. Your concentration is all over the place and your ability to focus is not there. So to improve getting the most out of Neville's teachings, to be able to get you to where your desires are fully hatched, you have to pull back. Yes, understand the mechanics of what he's talking about, but you also have to learn to concentrate and do it properly. And that sounds really simple and obvious, but I can tell you it's not. It's not. So, you know, and some of you in here might be extremely good at concentrating and have done degrees or, you know, read incredibly complicated things or whatever. And that's really wonderful, but you're definitely in a minority if you are able to do so. Now, if you're not able to focus and you're not able to concentrate, it's not about beating yourself over the head with a stick. It's about saying, you know what? I haven't actually even thought about that, but I would like to get good at manifesting what I want. So I'm going to really improve on my concentration and my focus. And I'm going to, when I'm reading, I'm not going to play the radio. When I'm meditating, I'm not going to be driving, or I'm not going to be listening to meditations while I'm at work or whatever. And I'm going to do one thing at a time, and I'm going to do it well. And I'm going to do that through my whole day. So therefore, when I come home and say I do these things that Neville is suggesting at night or early in the morning before I go to work or on a day off, I will give that my full focus, because I will have been able to not just do it for the Neville stuff, I'm putting that into my lifestyle, that I listen to one thing at a time, and that I do one thing at a time, and that I engage my mind fully on activities. Now, chance or accident is not responsible for the things that happen to you, nor is predestined fate the author of your fortune or misfortune. So yeah, predestined fate, no. It's you are responsible for what's in front of you. And the predestination theory, I know a lot of people believe in, oh, this is predestined, or it was meant to be, or whatever, but when that stuff gets said in conversation, that reveals that that person does not understand that creation is something that you are able to influence through concentration, focus, directing your thought with a certain idea, then injecting the emotion, the feeling into it, and then the how and when it hatches, that's up to source, infinite intelligence, but then it is being launched and set in motion. Your subconscious impressions determine the conditions of your world. The subconscious is not selective, it is impersonal and no respecter of persons. The subconscious is not concerned with the truth or falsity of your feeling. It always accepts as true that which you feel to be true. Feeling is the asset of the subconscious to the truth of that which is declared to be true. So, I mean, let's look at history. There's been a lot of people that have, been, terrorists and dictators which have used these very things in the total negative way, and they've got results. So it is, as this says, it doesn't care and it doesn't respect, it's impersonal. It doesn't care who you are. It just follows what you project out. So, I wish I could say that that's different, but it works, and it doesn't discriminate. Because of this quality of the subconscious, there is nothing impossible to man. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and feel as true, the subconscious can and must objectify. Your feelings create the pattern from which your world is fashioned. I'm going to read that again. Your feelings create the pattern from which your world is fashioned. And a change of feeling is a change of pattern. So we all have a collection of thoughts on money, on work, on love, on health. We have a collection of thoughts that started with whoever raised us, and they planted the seeds of our thoughts that we eventually turned into beliefs that now we think, as we get older, oh, those are my thoughts and they're my original thoughts. Well, are they? Because someone told you certain things about health and money and relationships and work. And one of the ones that just jumped to my mind now is you have to work hard. I mean, that came from our parents and our grandparents' generation. Now, that is still a bumper sticker for a lot of people, specifically in those age groups. Now, those of us that are the children of those people know that you don't have to work hard for money. You can make money while you're sleeping, and you can also make money working half the hours for twice the pay and making money while you sleep. So that is us breaking free of that generation's beliefs. And we then have challenged it and said, no, I don't want that belief for me. They can have it if they want, but I'd rather not work hard. I'm happy to work and to give to what I do and be passionate about what I do. But can I do that in half the time? Can I do that and be passionate about something and still have energy left over at the end of the day instead of smashing myself into the ground because I've been doing the you have to work hard for money? Wouldn't it be nice to be free of you have to work hard for money? That'd be great, because then I could come home and not feel like I got to, collapse onto the couch and then drag myself to bed and then wake up exhausted, because that's how people that work hard for money feel. That's how they feel, especially as they get older. So, it's looking at who put the thoughts in my head and do I want them there still? And let me look at all topics where I got my beliefs from. And do I want to say, you know what, I'm tossing that one? And culturally, religiously, politically, family, those are the systems that put thoughts in our heads that turn into beliefs that then we accept. So you got to look at your culture, your religion, your family, and if you believe in politics, if you go down those rabbit holes, whose thoughts are in my head, and is this who I really want to be? And if I don't, let me look at what I think and let me look at where I got it from, and then let me say, these ones I like and these ones can go. So it's really fascinating how we got a lot of beliefs from people growing up and then thinking this way is the way. And, you know, all these systems are systems that often believe my way's right, your way's wrong. And those are systems that are about division. They divide people. So, and you know, that's a whole other can of worms, but I'm bringing it up because you got to look at who's planted the seeds in my head that germinated just as little old thoughts, but then now they've become beliefs that are set in concrete. And are these beliefs that I still want to hold? And if you can look at, especially the ones that are causing you uncomfortability, that are causing you disturbance, that are causing you negative outcomes, you might want to look at those first, because those are the ones that you, if you change those, you'll feel better and better and set yourself free and then move towards those things you desire much more quickly. Now, where are we? Do not entertain the feeling. Oh no, I'm a bit further down. Let's jump backwards. Chance or accident is not, I'm going to read that bit again because this bit I think is quite powerful. Chance or accident is not responsible for the things that have happened to you, nor is predestined fate the author of your fortune or misfortune. Your subconscious impressions determine the conditions of your world. So it's what you're thinking consciously, then what is gets sent to the subconscious, and then the subconscious goes, oh, there's an instruction. I'm going to go forward and find you the result that you've just launched. And I'm going to bring you back and drop it at your feet, that which you have asked for, whether you did it consciously or unconsciously, because you just went on automatic pilot. The subconscious is not concerned. Oh, I've read that bit again. Okay, I'm going to jump a bit further. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and feel as true, the subconscious can and must objectify. Your feelings create the pattern from which your world is fashioned. And a change of feeling is a change of pattern. And this book is called Feeling is the Secret. So the feeling is the fuel, the petrol, the gas in the tank. Okay? The subconscious never fails to express that which has been impressed upon it. The moment it receives an impression, it begins to work out the ways of its expression. And what a beautiful thing. It's like we're made this way. Whatever you think about with positive or negative emotion in your conscious time, your waking time, it then goes to the subconscious, and the subconscious goes, oh, quick, let's get this moving and make this for them. That's so loving, really. I mean, we use it in a way that we injure ourselves a lot of the time. But the system itself is so beautifully made that this is how it operates. And once we know that this is how it operates, the desires are amazingly endless that we can create in a positive way. So it accepts. No, one sentence back. The moment it receives an impression, it begins to work out ways of its expression. It accepts the feeling impressed upon it. Your feeling as a fact exists within itself. And immediately it sets about to produce in the outer or objective world the exact likeness of that feeling. So that's why Neville talks about states. If you are in a state of anxious unlovedness, you are not going to attract love. If you are feeling angry at not having enough money, no money's going to come. It's going to go off to the person who feels good about it. So you must look at, how do I feel about money, work, love, health? How do I feel about those things? If I am not in the state that is a loving state about that topic, then I cannot get to a more positive and fulfilling desired result. It outpictures them to the last detail, whether or not they are beneficial. Andra, you've got a question.
Yes, I do have a question. I have a full-time job and I'm transitioning right now to my business, and
Yeah.
has been very challenging for me to be on social media because I was not this type of person
Yes.
before. So to expose myself and sell and promote and try to be authentic at the same time has been really difficult.
Yeah.
Also, I have feelings that there is a particular person that is going to hire me. That's what I feel like, that I'm planning to work with her in a way for her to guide me as my mentor at the beginning. But I have a feeling I'll be working with her. And at this moment, I cannot just have my business because I need to support myself financially.
Yeah.
So having 8 hours, and I work in accounting, and I use a lot my mind with numbers, and my energy level is just, I cannot be creative after work. So I would like to know, how can I be in this state of abundance in career that I can attract what I would love to do on a daily basis? Because it's not easy. It's a bit it's hard. I don't want to say hard. It's just challenging to stay focused. Sometimes you just feel like giving up because it's too much.
I think when I look back at my journey, I used to, well, firstly, I made it really simple. I just get a yellow Post-it note. I'd sit down every Sunday night and I'd write 3 things I would do for my business. And my business didn't exist then. So it was 1 to 2 hours a week that I would do. And I used to call it, it's called Post-it Sunday.
Oh.
Now, those 3 things, I made sure I did those 3 things. And it might have been like something that took 10 minutes, like researching something, talk to someone, email someone. But I broke it down into 3 things each week. And each week I would do those 3 things. And I would move myself an inch forward. And I was working a full-time job, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week at that time. And I would often do those things not during the week. I would do it on my couple of days off.
Okay.
And I would just say, okay, if I have 2 days off a week, I would do 1 hour on one day, 1 hour on the other. Still gave me time to shop, to cook, to do my laundry, and to get myself ready for my job for the next day. Now, in terms of, I understand what you're saying about social media. I personally will say I'm allergic to it and I don't like it at all. So I really hear what you're saying, Kathleen. Some of us don't like it, don't want to be on it. Now, I think you can, depending on what your business is, again, with focus and concentration, pick one platform only and do it well. Okay. I used to have Facebook, I had Pinterest, I had Instagram, I had YouTube. I got rid of everything except for YouTube because I don't like it and I don't enjoy doing it. And I don't think you have to be on all social media platforms to do well. If you pick one platform that is the best one for what your product or service is, and you do that with focus, and you do it, sometimes you can outsource it eventually once you start, doing a bit better so you don't have to do it. And I think then it's doing the internal work. As in, I love how my ideal clients find me. I love that we're in sync. I love that, word of mouth works so well for me. Because really, at the end of the day, social media is like walking into a shopping center. It's just noisy and so much stuff that you just wouldn't bother looking at, I think.
It takes a lot of time to create content.
It takes too much time, and then you end up tired. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was doing something on Facebook, something on Instagram, something on Pinterest, and then I was doing my YouTubes. I used to get up and go, oh my God, do I have to do all that again today? I just couldn't stand it. Honestly, I'll be honest with you. I actually got to the point where I used the word, I hate this. I hate this. I just hate it. And I know that that's not a good energy to be putting into a business. So I decided I have to do what's right for me. And for me, it's doing one platform. And for what I do, YouTube is the best platform. I still think it is the best platform. So I cut off all the other, I got rid of everything. And yes, I lost subscribers. Yes, but I thought, you know what? I don't care. I'm free now to really do YouTube properly and to not be skimming over the surface, not doing anything properly. So, has my business taken a hit? Maybe, but I've got more than enough work. And I just go, the right people find me, the right people know where to look. People are smart. If they want to recommend you, they will. And I don't spend a lot of time marketing. I just trust that the vibe and the meditation and my business thrives, and I have wonderful connections with people, and remembering to give a bit for free as well. I think that's an excellent, and not that you do that for marketing. I mean, some people do, but I just think, I'm never going to forget where I came from, and I'm never going to forget the people that helped me. So, I think giving back when you can is just the thing to do. It's just the right thing to do for your own integrity. So, and you do that when you can. And I think it's saying, I'm not a social media person. And you know what? I remember getting on YouTube and I saw there was this whole wave of people that were unhooking from social media. I mean, I was in quarantine in Australia because of the lockdown. And that's when I made the decision, I can't stand this. I hate it. I'm out of here. And I shut down Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Instagram. I shut the whole lot down. And I remember feeling this relief and happiness that day and thinking that was the right decision, because I am not going to take advice from people that tell me I have to market a certain way. I have to market a way that fits with what I do. And the law of attraction is the law of attraction. I don't have to keep promoting time. Otherwise, I'm not practicing what I'm preaching. That'd be ridiculous. So if you can think of it as, let me do the one platform that's the best for me, and let me do that well. And yes, I'll have an email list. I'll have a website when the timing's right. I mean, I did my business 3.5 years without a website, and I got lots of work because people just would look in the YouTube, look at the description, there'd be my email address, and that was it. So you will attract your flock if you believe that to be. They will find you.
Thank you.
Find you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your advice.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I'm glad you brought that up because it's a big one. It's a big one.
Thank you.
Oh. Okay. How are we going? We got, a little bit. Have I got any more questions? No. Okay. To impress the subconscious with the desirable state, you must assume the feeling that would be yours had you already realized your wish. So obviously, they're positive emotions: feeling free, feeling happy, feeling relaxed, feeling joy, excited. That's what you would be feeling if you would have your desired outcome. So if you can hop into the back door and start to feel those emotions now in advance, then you're not dependent on the desire hatching for you to feel those emotions. You go, you know what? I can feel loved irregardless of having a romantic relationship. I can feel wealthy even if I can only do that on weekends when I'm free from my 8-hour-a-day, 5-day-a-week job. I'm going to go and walk on the beach and feel the freedom of being free, because that's how a wealthy person would feel. So you find little ways of getting there before the desire. The manner of expression or the difficulties involved are not to be considered by you. So how it expresses itself, or even the obstacles that you can conceive with your mind, don't need to be considered by you. Just let them go. And To think feelingly on any state impresses it on the subconscious. Therefore, if you dwell on the difficulties, barriers, or delays, the subconscious, because it's very non-selective, its non-selective nature accepts the feeling of difficulties and obstacles as your request and proceeds to produce them in the outside world. So don't think, how's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? Is it going to come through that person? Is my connection with this person going to lead me to this? Don't piece things together. Hold the state, let go. Hold the state, surrender and let go. Hold the state, allow. Hold the state, have faith. Hold the state, trust. Practice those and get good at them. And how do you get good at them? Through practice with concentration and focus. I am. And then you put in enjoying my wonderful relationship. I am enjoying my $1 million. I am enjoying that incredible business that I created. I love my business. I love my relationship. I love my bank account. I love my money. I love my family. I love. Whew, that's a nicer energy than how the hell is that going to happen and when's that going to come? Because I'm losing my patience here, you know? So it's training yourself to that solution way of thinking again and again and again, and stop the problem trajectory. Stop going back there. Okay? Now, to think feelingly on any state impresses it in the subconscious. Therefore, if you dwell on the difficulties and barriers or delay, the subconscious, by its very non-selective nature, accepts the feeling of difficulties. So again, as we just said, you must train yourself to pull your focus away. The subconscious is the womb of creation. It receives the idea unto itself through the feelings of man. It never changes the idea received, but it just gives it form. Hence, the subconscious outpictures the idea in the image and likeness of the feeling received. So the feeling is the fertilizer. It's the marinade. That's what the feeling part is. To feel a state as hopeless or impossible is to impress the subconscious with that idea of failure. Although the subconscious faithfully serves man, it must not be inferred that the relation is that of a servant to a master, as was anciently conceived. The ancient prophets called it the slave and servant of man. St. Paul personified it as a woman and said the woman should be subject to man in everything. The subconscious does serve man and faithfully gives form to his feelings. However, the subconscious has a distinct distaste for compulsion and responds to persuasion rather than to command. So, in this day and age of entitlement, that commanding energy of entitlement doesn't work. It's the quiet persuasion. I think he didn't use this word here, humility. When you ask with humility rather than to command, God, give me that now. Entitlement doesn't work, but thank you, God, for that amazing gift of this beautiful relationship, $1 million, that amazing business that I've always wanted to create. Thank you in advance. And you hop into that beautiful state of faith. That's a much better approach, I think. Kathleen.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I've got my screen all messed up, so I don't know what's going on where. But,
yeah.
When you say don't command,
yeah,
this makes me think of hypnosis.
Yes.
And subliminals.
Yep.
I did a hypnosis session in 2010 5 when I first discovered the law of attraction and started reading, and everybody was talking about the subconscious is what actually creates. And so this today gives me a much better understanding. I wish I'd had it then before that, but during the hypnosis, the lady asked me a question about what did my father say about making money.
Mm-hmm.
And my immediate response was, you have to work hard and get a good education. And then I go, and I quit school, and I burst into tears. And ever since, the woman didn't really resolve the issues at the time, and I've had to work really diligently to undo those beliefs. But anyway, it made me think of that when this says never to command but to persuade. So how would that fit in? Like even in July when I fell, like right before we did the calls with the other 2 ladies,
yes,
that I had fallen and gotten really badly hurt, and I had just used revision.
Yes.
And I am totally healed. Like, and I was seriously in bad shape. Like it was only a matter, like it took a couple of weeks before I could do the revision, because I couldn't imagine myself not falling. In the place, it took me a couple of weeks. I had so much pain.
Yeah.
And I couldn't feel the feelings of walking down the steps and continuing on. But then one day, about the 2.5 week, I did, and it felt so good. I continued to do it. And then as I would go walking past the place where it happened, I would just imagine that I would just come off of there, and it happened and all that. But anyway, I know it works. So that's what I'm saying. I know this stuff works, but how does that fit in with the commanding and the subliminals to change the subconscious or impress upon the subconscious mind what you want with the feeling? Like under the hypnosis, I felt the feelings when she told me of, oh my God, I quit school. I didn't get the education. No wonder. I'm working hard. I didn't get the education. And I've gotten over that. It doesn't matter to me. I know you can there's tons of people who didn't even get to 6th grade making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And today there's people it's rolling in while they sleep. They've never lifted a finger in their life.
Yeah.
So I know those are not true. And like I said, when I failed, the first thing I had him do that night was hypnotize me.
Yeah.
I had my boyfriend do it, and he's not a hypnotist, but he's done this with me a bit. And so he's done the induction, and I've done inductions on him because I'd gotten a book out of the library on self-hypnosis back then to see if I could correct what she had kind of left undone. And I feel like I did. But so I know it works. And I had him hypnotize me that night, telling me I am healthy. My back totally heals. My body totally heals. But yet I still have the problem that I've had this with this eye that hasn't. So it's like, what? How do I do that? Does that work? How do you command? I mean, my body totally healed.
Yeah.
From the fall. Like in my mind, it didn't happen now, but I have to tell you in order to tell you what happened.
Yeah.
But see, I went right down off the steps and kept on walking, and that feels so. But I don't know how to ask this. I'm not sure I'm getting across what I wanted to ask.
Yeah, I'm not 100% clear. So in terms of the command, what go a bit further with that train of thought?
In hypnosis or subliminals.
Yes.
I particularly like subliminals. I go to sleep with a subliminal every night, and I have since that night with I am healthy, I am healed.
Yes.
I am in perfect health. My body has restored itself. My body restores itself. And I go to sleep with that, but I'm not really feeling in my sleep the feeling. So is that working? They say, subliminals seem to work. And then in commanding, it says not to command, but to persuade.
Yeah.
So under hypnosis,
are
you is it commanding the subconscious mind, or is it persuading? That was my thought.
Yeah. Okay. I got a bit more of an understanding. Well, it's interesting because it's okay. Is it a suggestion or is it a command? I mean, Florence Scovel Shinn talks about commands and demands.
Right.
She goes totally against what Neville just said here. She says, you say, infinite spirit, open the way for my $10 million now.
Right.
She launches the commands and brings them into the foreground. So this is where you see the difference between Florence and Neville. Neville talks more about, I think, from reading him and using what he has said for many years and then trying it Florence's way, because I'm fond of both of them, even though they do lock horns on certain things.
Yeah.
That gentle persuasion of I am healthy is, I think, a persuasion, because you're not saying, body, I command you to be healthy now. That would be more of a command on the body to become healthy, and you are a bit more of a drill sergeant. Florence is a bit more of a drill sergeant, whereas Neville is clear in what he says, but I still think it's more gentle in its approach. That's what I would say, Kathleen. Is it splitting hairs? Maybe. If you look at it on a linear line, one's probably more at one end than the other, but they're still going around the circle to aim and get to the same point, which is that you get your desire to hatch. So I guess you got to play around with, I'm not a big fan of subliminals. I personally think they're lazy. If you're going to create, do it in your daytime and allow your conscious mind to do the work. I do not like other people's subliminals because I don't know what the heck they're putting into my head.
Yeah, I do my own. own.
I remember you said that.
I look at them as a little bit of icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Like they're not really, they're just kind of reinforcing ideas. That's what I look at them as. And then I just had a thought when you're talking about Florence commanding. She had such a success doing that with clients that believed her command. And I wonder if they worked, or it worked because she had impressed upon their subconscious with feeling that if she did this command, that's what would work.
That's right. So really they've handed their power over to Florence to
impress upon their subconscious mind with feeling what would actually, and so they accept it into the subconscious because they feel it true because she says it in such a command. So maybe that's why it works.
Yeah.
She's really still using what Neville says.
That's right. That's right. So in a way, and this happens with priests, with counselors.
Oh, absolutely. People believe if they, just like the holy water, if you go get the holy water, you believe that's going to heal you and you feel that's true.
So it's belief in, whether you call it a middleman or a dream catcher or some kind of external symbol of something.
Yeah, a charm or
a talisman of some sort. So, you know, I mean, the thing that I like about your subliminals is you know what's in them and you've done them yourself.
Yes, I will not listen to someone's, I will not listen to anybody's. And they're not really, the one I listen to is not like non-spoken. Like I turn it way down low, but I say, I made him record it myself. My boyfriend records it for me. I restore, he puts a little bit of music or something in there, but I know what's being said and I agree with everything there.
Yeah,
and
good.
I turn them really down low so that I don't consciously hear it so much as I'm sleeping. I hear it a little bit, but and I try to do my own, you know, isn't it wonderful? And I think, you know, about the days, or if there's something I want to revise, like the fall, you know, I just, you know, I'll go over that. I actually, and you might remember this, I've been revising the divorce proceeding.
Yes,
and,
I remember.
I have been expecting this huge sum of money to show up for me that I was given at the divorce settlement. I mean, I almost get the hair standing on the back of my neck when I tell you. And I feel there's going to be a success story there. But that happened 20 years ago. And I'd had so much, you know, anger and upset every time I thought about, I lost this, I lost that, you know, I got this. And so whenever even someone brings it up or something and it comes to my mind, I think, I got $395,000 from my divorce.
Yeah.
And I still revise that each night. And I keep telling myself, if Neville says this happens, then at some point this has changed reality and something's going to show up. So that's I keep looking for this money to show up.
But you've done exactly what we've been talking about now, which is you've pulled away from the problem, anger, resentment. 20 years ago, I didn't get what I should have.
Yeah, I feel good looking at that big check I got. Yeah,
But
I
you've done
don't care
it.
about that property. Don't care about that stuff. I got the check.
I got the check, and well done, because you've now got yourself probably over the 50% mark that you are no longer watering the plant of problem. And you are, because when you said, I can feel the hairs on the back of my neck, that's the feeling place. That means that that is feeling real to your emotional self. So you'll have to let us know how that goes, because you're well on the right track with that.
My biggest problem is the impatience. Sometimes when I look at my bank account every day or whatever, I'm like, where is it? You know what I mean? You know, but other than that, that's my biggest thing I've got to keep focusing.
Have you got WhatsApp where you can actually take a screenshot of your current bank account and then write over that screenshot exactly?
I don't have any of that. I'm not super technical savvy. I mean, I just
do it physically. Take a photocopy or something and do it.
Well, I did recently, and it's funny you've mentioned $1 million a lot this call. Just about a week and a half to 2 weeks ago, I listened to a guy who had won $1 million in the UK lottery. It was an interview somebody posted in a group I'm in, and it was the interview. So I watched it, and he had written himself $1 million check. Well, I love Christmas and Christmas music, and I found an old book of Christmas checks I'd had years ago with my ex, right?
Yeah.
So I blacked out his name on the checks, but I made it out to myself for $1 million, and it's got Santa on there and everything. And I told myself it's a Christmas gift this year.
Good.
And so I've been looking at the check each night before I go to bed and thinking about how much I love having this. Isn't it wonderful to start 2023 with $1 million?
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, that reminds me of Jack Canfield in The Secret with the check. Remember that?
It's 100,000.
Yeah. Good for you. Yeah. Well, I look forward to hearing the end of that story. But
thank you so much for this class.
Oh, no problem. I'm glad you brought that up, because it really does show the differences between Neville and Florence. Some of their stuff conflicts. I mean, Florence.
I don't see it as a confliction now that I thought about it, because she's really just using her words and feeling and the command to impress that on their subconscious mind. She's using this principle.
That's
but
right.
She's using it in a way that they'll believe, because they're non-believers. They just come to her desperate. And then she tells you that this command is going to work.
Yeah.
And so, just like you drink this holy water or put this anointed cloth in your purse, you're going to get that $1 million,
That's right. She's evoking belief in her conviction when she's working with people.
Right.
I mean, they're basically on the same line. She's just more extreme in how she's worded
she's doing it in a different technique.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we will read a little bit more. Now, going back to, I'm on page 17. The husband is head of the wife. May not be true of man and woman in their earthly relationship, but it is true of the conscious and the subconscious, or the male and female aspects of consciousness. The mystery to which Paul referred when he wrote, "This is a great mystery. He that loveth his wife loveth himself, and thy two shall be one flesh," is simply the mystery of consciousness. Consciousness is really one and undivided, but for creation's sake, it appears to be divided into two. Yeah, that's right. Because we see it as the conscious is what I know, what I'm thinking about, and the subconscious is that stuff that's lurking in the background that kind of shows up and destroys or causes havoc in my life, and I got to work out where that is, and can I get there through doing the inner child work, or through hypnosis, or through subliminals? How do I get into the subconscious and open that stuff out and then scrub the decks? But as he's saying, in reality, they go together. The conscious is the idea, then that is given to the subconscious. The subconscious then actions it, goes out with the law of assumption, the law of projection, the law of attraction brings you back a photocopy, and it hatches and shows you a result. Now, the conscious objective or male aspect truly is the head and dominates the subconscious, or the female aspect. However, this leadership is not that of a tyrant, but of a lover. So, by assuming the feeling that would be yours were you already in possession of your objective, the subconscious is moved to build the exact likeness of your assumption. I like the difference between, rather than that slave-master dynamic that he talked about before, or a tyrant, it is the lover. The subconscious is the lover to the conscious, which is a really nice way to look at it. And lovers work together. Lovers are fond of each other. Lovers, you know, dovetail and have a beautiful in sync connectedness. And it's so often we think the subconscious is out, our subconscious is out there running around doing a whole bunch of stuff to us, and we don't have control over it. It's like this naughty 2-year-old that's touching everything. And it's, if you look at it differently and you see it as this, then that can work in your favor to get you to where you want to go on whatever desire you are currently trying to manifest today. Now, assuming the feeling that would be yours, were you already in possession of your objective or of your desire? If you already had what you wanted, the subconscious is moved to build the exact likeness of your assumption. Your desires are not subconsciously accepted until you assume the feeling of their reality. Now, what Kathleen said about the hairs on her back of the neck, that was an example of what we're talking about here. Your desire are not subconsciously accepted until you assume the feeling. And when you get that physical reaction of, I can feel the hairs on the back of my neck, or I can feel that feeling in my stomach, or I just felt this rush of something, those are all indicators that you are getting into that thinking from it rather than thinking of it. You are merged. So until you assume the feeling of their reality, for only through feeling is an idea subconsciously accepted, and only through this subconscious acceptance is it ever expressed. It is easier to ascribe your feeling to events in the world than to admit that the conditions of the world are reflecting your feelings. So it's not the stuff out there in your life is then causing a feeling. It's the feelings that you had that created what is out there. So it's that you got to look at, he talks a lot about it as the moods. So look at what mood you have or what emotion you have about that topic. What topic? Love, money, health, work, or any other topic. However, it is eternally true that the outside mirrors the inside. As within, so without. As above, so below. As below, so above. As within, so without. As without, so within. Correspondence, the second of the 7 principles of Hermes. A man can receive nothing unless it is given him from heaven. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Nothing comes from without. All things come from within. From the subconscious, it is impossible for you to see other than the contents of your consciousness. Your world in its every detail is your consciousness objectified. Objective states bear witness of subconscious impression. So whatever you impress on the subconscious, the state then reveals to you the result. It goes in those steps. You have a thought about an idea, then the idea is in the conscious mind, that is then offloaded to the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind then must act to bring you what seeds you have planted. And depending on if you watered them and fertilized them with positive or negative emotion, then it will hatch with positive or negative results, as in something you want or something like a miscreation, something that you go, hang on a minute, that's not what I wanted. Well, you watered and planted with certain thoughts and beliefs and feelings, most importantly, and therefore that's why that is there. For the time being, nothing set in stone, so it's not to your liking. You can change it, okay? Now, the subconscious accepts as true that which you feel is true, and because creation is the result of subconscious impressions, you by your feeling determine creation. I'm going to read that again. The subconscious accepts as true that which you feel as true, and because creation is the result of subconscious impressions, you by your feeling determine creation. So, in other words, in 2022 English, whatever you send from the consciousness, what you think as an idea of what you want, you send that to the subconscious. The subconscious then just says, I'm going to create this for you. Then the feeling that you've watered it with, it determines what sprouts outside, okay? You are already that which you want to be. Your refusal to believe this is the only reason you do not see it. So you are already that which you want to be. You are already loved. You're already wealthy. You're already in the most amazing job or business that you want. You're already healthy. All of that is inside you. It can be the contents of your consciousness, but you've got to call that up as the principal ideas about those subjects to then be able to see it. And the reason you don't see it is because it's your refusal to believe it and to call it up. And coming back to focus and concentration, making that the thing you focus and concentrate on. So I'm not going to read any more because we're coming to the end, but hopefully there's some stuff in there. This is such a lovely little book, and it is really getting you in sync and in tune with, what do I think consciously? What am I feeling from that thoughts that I have, from the thought that I have? And then what am I planting? What seeds am I watering? What am I fertilizing? And how can I get better at fertilizing, watering desires that are hatching the way I want them to be? And this is the skill. It's just getting better at being conscious of the thoughts, then the feelings, which is the secondary cab off the rank. Thirdly, it's knowing that this process, as you live from, and you don't just think of, I'm here, my desire's over there. I'm here, my desire's over there. You go, hang on, I am driving that car. I am in my free and healthy and good feeling body. I have got my app, and that one with all those zeros and a dollar sign is in my money app. That feels amazing. And you do that on whatever subject you want. You get into that. When you start getting those exhales where you go, if I knew I had this thing right now, how would I feel if I was on the brink of it? And your whole body goes, oh, it's like the tension of non-believing, the tension of white knuckling to force it to happen, or feeling fear that it's never going to happen. Your exhaling is you sinking into the feeling. And every time you exhale in that kind of big sigh kind of way, that's heading you in the right direction. So that is it for tonight. If anybody has one more question, feel free to put your hand up before we close off. But I hope that that makes the process a little simpler, because, you know, Neville says imagination creates reality, but you go, yeah, but how and why and how often and where do I do it and how do I do it and how often do I do it and all these things. And I know Neville's big on states akin to sleep. I know some people are morning people, that doesn't work for them and they're very tired at night. If you are one of those people, do it when you can. Just practicing the state, forget the akin to sleep part, is definitely a stepping in the right direction. So if you can't do it at night and you've kind of given up on that, then really it's no biggie. Do it when you can. I'm going to ask, hello. Hello. Go ahead and ask your question. I saw that you couldn't work out how to do it. It's fine. No problem. Just unmute yourself. There we go.
I was just going to say, we were chatting about some stuff in the chat about like resistance to affirmations and stuff. Yeah. So if you wanted to talk about any of that, I think there's a couple of us at least who could benefit from that. So,
okay, let me have a look. I'll go back. Can you tell me what you were talking about to save me going through all the questions?
Yeah, sure. So for me, it was just more like since I started doing more affirmations where you said to do the like 4 times a week and whatever, 30 minutes each. Like, number one, it's really hard for me to get to 30 minutes. Yeah. And number two, like, I'll get like tired. I'll start like yawning. I get distracted, like, all this stuff. Interruptions will just come up out of the blue. Like, where the hell did that come from? And someone else in the chat was saying that they have similar problems and they use like one of your guided I am love meditations to just kind of keep them on point. And it's the same for me too. Like, if I'm following something that you did, like, I'll stay focused and I can stay pretty relaxed. Like, there is something in me that'll just be like, this is so repetitive and like redundant or whatever. But, you know, I guess like as we're reprogramming the subconscious mind and all of that, it's like kicking and screaming. The old man is fighting for his life, right? So I don't know. That's like, it. I don't know if you want to talk about that, if it helps anyone.
I think, you know, I'll share this because this is probably the best example. There's a woman I know, I've known her since 2016, very overweight and extremely good at doing small incremental changes over long periods of time. She started on a treadmill for 5 minutes every day for a month. 5 minutes. Second month, 10 minutes. Third month, 15 minutes. Fourth month, and you can see where this is going.
Yeah.
We're now 4.5 years later, and she has not missed a day since that first day of 5 minutes.
Wow.
And she has dropped huge amounts of weight. So I would apply the same thing to affirmations, to meditation, to anything that you want to do. Because I think people try and go too quick, too fast and do the rabbit thing instead of doing the turtle thing and getting consistent results. So I think 30 minutes affirmations can be too long for some people. Start with 5 minutes a day. Do that for 2 or 3 weeks. And then go, you know what? Maybe I can't do 30 minutes a day. Maybe I want to do 10 minutes 3 times a day. Maybe I want to do 2 times 15. Yeah. Make it work your schedule, make it work who you are, and get better at focus and concentration. Because it's a big thing. Focus and concentration sound like 2 words, you know, but I mean, I've been meditating 30 years and I can still zone out after 10 minutes and think about my shopping list and damn, I forgot to hang the washing out. It's going to stink and I'm going to have to wash it again, you know? So it's like we have just parts of us that just go, oh my God, I don't feel like doing this, you know? Yeah. And I think the woman doing the 5 minutes for the first month, and I've seen, you know, I mean, she also has built an an amazing, she's got a treadmill because she does the treadmill. And she has now put her desk, because she works from home, on the treadmill. And she's told me not long ago that she has some days where she'll do 4 or 5 hours on that treadmill, but she doesn't walk fast. She just steady, slow. And eventually that month turns into 6 months, turns into a year, turns into 2 years to 5 years to 10 years. And then you go, oh my goodness, now I get, because everybody's good at starting things. And there is a very small percentage of people that are good at continuation.
Right, like completing, finishing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, because I think there's also like a level of resistance, if you will, where like for me, I just know that, like, I understand what's happening and I understand the necessity to persist. Like there's no conscious part of me that wants to give up or whatever, right? And it's been so like not that long of me doing these specific types of affirmations. I mean, it's been 2 years of me like following Neville like pretty hardcore or whatever, but just like unlearning all these weird habits and stuff that we have, these ways of thinking, like that's the really hard part. But
yeah,
you know, I get into like a funk when I guess certain parts of my subconscious don't believe what I'm trying to tell it. And it does usually revolve around outside people, not me, right? Like it's like I can get down with believing the things about myself that I'm trying to affirm, but when it's in relation to like people outside of me, I guess that's where the subconscious mind is doubting or whatever. So I guess, do you have anything that you would want to say about just that like malaise that comes up when your conscious mind is fighting the old man or whatever? Like, I don't know.
Well,
how to really work.
Okay, I'll give you an example. I mean, if you're trying to affirm something about somebody else and you're not believing it, then perhaps look at what is it that am I trying to affirm to change somebody, and is that really a good affirmation that's going to work? So some things I think are telling you this might not be the right affirmation. Other times it could be, you know what, I'm committing it to memory, but my feeling hasn't caught up. I mean, I've done some affirmations for 2 years before I felt anything.
Wow. That was my next question.
Yeah. Like I remember doing, which one was it? I'm first best. I remember thinking, no, I've been second best my whole life. I don't think I believe that.
Right.
I just didn't believe it.
Right.
Didn't matter how many times I did it, but somewhere along the line, I mean, but the thing is, I had moments where I went, screw this, I'm just going to do I'm love. And I'm loved and I'm lovable, because that feels easier than I'm first best, because I've never been first best. I've always been not good enough and second best. So that's a big jump for me at that time. And so, you know, I'd give it a break and then I'd try it again, you know, a bit later, maybe a month later, I'd try it again, add it in, wouldn't feel anything. I thought, okay, well, I'll keep going, because I know if I keep going, I will get there eventually. But yeah, some affirmations took me 2 years to believe. So, but the thing is, you just go, well, I've committed it to memory. I actually do it fairly regularly. So eventually the concept of it will become more like a comfortable old t-shirt rather than the stiff new one I've just taken out of the packet. It will start to feel like my favorite t-shirt. And eventually that's what happened. But I think sometimes you got to look at, hang on, is this the right affirmation, especially the ones about other people, you know? And I have seen that a lot when I'm working with people, that they are trying to do affirmations to get other people to change. And that to me, you know, you got to go, hang on, am I doing that? What am I doing? Is this one of those? And you got to just question your affirmations, because what you think is okay affirmation wise today, I know the affirmations I did 5 to 10 years ago, I would never do them now, because I can see I was still trying to, well, let's say control another human being. So I had to question myself on certain affirmations around certain people.
But I don't know that it's necessarily my desire to control people outside. Like, say it was even $1 million, right? Like, just take the
money one,
like,
yeah.
Right. Like, if and I mean, I'm not saying I have this necessarily, like, but I'm just using it as an example. Like, say you as a person just don't believe that you deserve $1 million or that you can have $1 million. It's like that kind of a thing. Like,
yes,
that's why I love the May Divine Love Me Made Alive inside of me, because that when I just bust that out as like my 1-2 punch for like whatever bullshit is going on, you know what I mean, where it's trying to be like, you will never have what you want, or like whatever, you know, I'm just like, May Divine Love Me, May Divine Love Me, May Divine Love inside me, you know what I mean, like I'm going off with it, like just like beating down the old man with that one. So that's like a really good one for me. But I mean, I think it's just like, I don't want to control anything necessarily outside of me. I'm just tired of not believing these things, and whatever that resistance of the subconscious to not just like assimilate it. I just don't want to feel like crap anymore. You know what I mean? About all this stuff. You know
what I think is really helpful? Like, say you're going from, as an example, you've grown up, or one of your reoccurring things is I'm not loved and I'm not wanted. So you go, okay, I know where that comes from. It's from my childhood. I know I'm an adult now. I'm working on it, but my relationships have showed me that I'm not loved or not wanted fully. So I still need to work on them. So I go to myself, okay, I go from knowing I'm not loved and I'm not wanted to going, okay, I now want to change that to I'm loved and I'm wanted. So I start saying I'm loved and I'm not wanted, and my head goes, no, you're not. Do you see any evidence of that? And I think that sometimes can really derail people to not keep going. So this is where Abraham Hicks is good. And Esther's saying, use the wouldn't it be nice if I was loved and wanted. Wouldn't it be nice if I was loved and wanted? Your head will never argue with that, because of course it's going to be amazingly good. So I think it's, again, sometimes using those stepping stone things that just make it better, well, let's say easier for your mind to absorb the believability of that. That has been extremely helpful for me. I think that's where Esther really shines, is your head doesn't argue with, wouldn't it be nice if I was loved and wanted? Your head doesn't go, well, no, you're not. No, you're not. It's like, well, I didn't ask that question. I didn't say I am loved and I'm wanted, so you don't have to argue with me. All I said was, wouldn't it be nice if I was? And then, it would. It really would. So I think that's a great one to go right in that middle bit, stepping stone.
Okay. I'm going to put it on a Post-it right now. Post-it Sunday.
That's it. Post-it Sunday. There you go. It is Sunday, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Lovely. Lovely, lovely. So thank you, everyone, for joining in. That was really just a lovely questions came out of that, and good discussion. And I'm just so thrilled. So many of you are just diving into Neville so deeply. It's funny, I never thought to do this beforehand because I didn't think it was a huge thing, but I can see that a lot of you have read Neville and are reading him, and I know he's difficult to understand. But if you read him and you continue to read him for 2, 5, 10, 15 years, his stuff comes alive more and more, and it will be, you just get deeper levels of applying him totally, even from the same books. So if you want to unmute yourself and just say goodbye before we log off, and thank you for joining in, everybody.
Thank you, Agnes.
Thank you, Agnes. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Oh, it sounds so cute. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you next Sunday.
23rd. What's the date next Sunday?
No, it's November 6th is the free one, I think.
November 6th is a free one. That's correct. And it's the same time as tonight. But I'll do if any of you want to email me to get the link for the 6th of November, feel free to do it anytime from now. I haven't posted it up as a YouTube. So if you want to get in before the avalanche of people, then feel free to email me straight away and I'll send it to you early this week. No problem at all.
What's on next week? Sorry, Agnes.
Next week, I don't know. I can't remember what. Hang on, let me look at the date for next week.
Is it?
It's the 30th. At this stage, there's nothing.
Okay, so the 6th of November.
The 6th is the next, yeah, and that's for the law and the promise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
And that'll be session 2 because we've already had session 1. So we're continuing on from where we started. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.